Terrifying serial killer encounters. 1. It was 1977. I had taken time off work to have a baby and stay home with her, but I still needed an income, so my mother had hired my younger sister Tiffany and me to work in her shop while she took care of her first infant granddaughter. Tiffany and I were working at our mum's antique store one summer day. Mum had just gotten a truckload of European oak furniture that needed to be cleaned and polished, have the handles screwed on and so forth. A nice-looking young man came into the store and started talking to Tiffany, who was 17 at the time. He introduced himself as Ted Smith, and we laughed and said we must be related, as Mum's maiden name was Smith also. He chatted both of us up, but focused on Essis for the most part. He purchased an armoire, but said he'd have to go get his truck, since at the moment he was driving his Volkswagen, an old VW Bug. He then asked my sister and me if we wanted to go out to dinner that night with him. We were sweaty and dirty from work. I had a baby to care for, and Sis already had a boyfriend, so we said, "Thanks, but no thanks, Ted." He asked me to ride with him to get his truck so he could drop his Bug off at the auto shop for repairs, but by that point I had to get home to my infant. However, he wouldn't give up trying to get one or both of us away from the shop. He said he could come back about 10 that evening for his armoire and asked whether one or both of us be there. We replied, "No, we close the shop at 6 and we both have places to be tonight." He was persistent. "How about tomorrow night?" "No, we close at 6 p.m. except on Saturdays when we close at 4 p.m. He asked whether one of us could meet him early in the morning, like at 5:30 a.m., but neither of us wanted to. He was getting to be a bit creepy and Sis and I were eye-rolling at each other. Eventually, he said he was sorry but he couldn't buy the armoire if we couldn't be flexible. We hated to give up the sale, but after he had been there for 2 hours, we thought he was just looking and taking up our time. We still had a lot of work to do on the furniture that had just arrived in the shop. Finally, we just wanted to finish our work and go home. At 6 p.m., as we were leaving, his VW Bug was parked outside and he asked us whether we want to go for coffee. He especially wanted Tiffany to go. We said, "Thanks, Ted, but no thanks, like we said earlier, we have plans," but he continued to be insistent. Finally, I said, "Sis, let's go, I'll take you home." Even though she had her car there, for some reason I didn't want to leave her to drive home alone with this guy around, so he drove off in his Bug and we really didn't think of it again. Until the next year when this picture appeared in the paper, Ted Bundy. It still sends chills up my spine, writing this, and Sis and I talk about it occasionally. We were two lucky young women that day. If either of us had agreed to go, we would have been raped and murdered like the at least 30 other women Bundy kidnapped. To preface this story, I am a woman. When I was in my early 20s, my date, who I'll call Matt, and I decided to go to the Sail Inn in West Sacramento to play pool. We'd been there before and enjoyed speaking with the bartender. I can't recall her name, but she was a beautiful, engaging woman. This particular night, we walked in and noticed the pool table was occupied. There was a man and woman shooting a game, so Matt bought us some drinks while I watched. After a few minutes, the man noticed me and struck up a conversation with me. When Matt came over with our drinks, the man asked us if we wanted to shoot a game with them. It didn't occur to me at the time that his female companion hadn't yet said anything. We said yes, so he racked up the balls and we played against them. During the game, we introduced ourselves, and right after the man began asking me some personal questions that started to bother me, like where did I live, had my date, and I've been dating long, did we live together, etc. I noticed the man and his friend kept looking at each other. I became increasingly uncomfortable, even though the rest of the conversation was benign and pleasant in nature. Weirdly, the woman still hadn't said anything. When the game was over, the man asked us if we wanted to leave with them to go to another bar down the street. At first, I didn't say anything. The guy asked us again, saying they discovered a cool bar not too far from where we were. Matt and I looked at each other, and before he could say anything, I blurted out, "No thanks, we have dinner plans." We obviously did not have any such plans. Thanks God Matt didn't say anything. I think he saw the look of panic on my face. We both grabbed our jackets and got out of there. When we got back to my truck, Matt asked me what was wrong. I told him I got a horrible feeling from those people and just knew we had to get away from them. I told him it was weird that he asked us to leave with them when he didn't check with his date first. He shrugged and said, okay. I think he thought I was crazy. A few days later, when I opened up the afternoon paper, there was an article in there about a woman from West Sacramento who'd been found murdered. I didn't think anything of it until I got to the page where the article was continued and the picture of the woman practically leap off the page at me. It was the beautiful bartender from the Sail Inn. Apparently she'd been kidnapped, raped and killed the very night I was there with my date. I was totally creeped out and thought what a crazy coincidence that was, and how sad it was that she had died so horribly. It wasn't until a month or so later that I realized why I had gotten so upset that night. A man and woman had just been arrested for the bartender's murder, along with the murders of several other people, 4 of whom were couples. There, on the front page of the Sacramento Bee, were the pictures of the killers, Gerald and Charlene Gallego, the very couple who invited my date and I to go with them to another bar. And apparently, this was one of the ruses they used to get their victims into their van. My heart did flip-flops in my chest as I read the article. Not only had we been targeted as their next serial killer victims, when we turned them down, they selected another target because of me. I have lived with both relief and guilt all my life because of this. Intellectually, I know it's not my fault the bartender died, but I've always wondered how different the world would have been had she been able to live out her life, even though I would have been gone myself. Needless to say, that was the end of my bar date experiences for a long time. This dates back to the late 70s, early 80s. We had plenty of family gatherings back then. We were having a family barbecue at one of my cousin's farm. Everyone was having a good time. Adults were preparing the food and kids were playing. I don't remember for what reason, but one of our younger cousin, who was just 12 at that time, got on his bike and rode out the back to the store across the street. After crossing the road, a van pulled over to him and the driver tried talking him into the vehicle. When that didn't work, the man got out and tried to force our cousin into the van. My cousin kicked and screamed as loud as he can. A passing car saw what was happening and stopped, which probably spooked the van driver. The guy got back into his van and attempted to drive away. My uncle had heard the commotion outside, had jumped into his car and drove to see what was going on. He managed to catch up to the van and got the guy arrested for attempted kidnapping. Unfortunately, the charge didn't stick for long for God knows what reason, and the guy was eventually let go. The man's name was Clifford Robert Olson. We're pretty sure that my cousin might have been one of Olson's first attempts. Crazy to think how he went on to be such an evil human being.